Absolutely impossible to repair, declared Grand Engineer Valaxis, his crystalline appendages twitching with what passed for irritation among the Zoranthians. The damage to the quantum manifolds alone would require. Hold my coffee, muttered Sarah Chen, already pulling her toolbox from under her workstation. The other human engineering cadets exchanged knowing looks, trying not to snicker as their alien instructors continued their lengthy discourse on why the derelict Ryxian warship was beyond salvation. The hyperdrive containment system has suffered catastrophic cascade failure, Professor Kathrix chimed in, his bioluminescent spots pulsing in scholarly agreement. Even attempting repairs could trigger a quantum singularity. We must quarantine the vessel and... Hey Sarah, bet you can't get it running before lunch, called out Miguel Rodriguez from across the hangar bay, his dark eyes dancing with mischief. Oh, you are so on, Sarah shot back, her ponytail bouncing as she jogged toward the supposedly doomed vessel. Loser buys coffee for a month. The alien faculty watched in horror as a stream of human engineering cadets followed her, carrying tools, diagnostic equipment, and in Jack O'Malley's case, an ancient boombox blaring what he insisted was proper repair music. But the quantum manifold's Valaxis's crystalline form was practically vibrating with distress. The cascade failure. The containment systems. Yeah, drawled Tyler Washington, already shoulder deep in an access panel. Heard it all before when my hover bike broke down last semester. Just needed a good kick and some duct tape. What is this? Duct tape you speak of, Kathrix inquired, his spots shifting to a puzzled purple. Humanity's first gift to the galaxy, Sarah replied with a wink, tossing him a silver roll. That and WD-40. Between the two of them, we can fix pretty much anything. The next 4 hours were a symphony of chaos that would haunt the alien faculty's nightmares for cycles to come. Humans crawled through maintenance tubes designed for repair drones, jury-rigged solutions that violated at least 15 safety protocols, and somehow turned the ship's mess hall into an impromptu engineering command center. Complete with a coffee maker balanced precariously on what might have been an antimatter containment unit. Has anyone seen my quantum spanner, called out Lisa Patel from somewhere inside the ceiling. Check under the pizza boxes, Jack shouted back, his voice muffled by the engine housing he was wedged into. The what boxes, Professor Kathrix whispered to his colleague. I believe it's some form of ritual sustenance, Valaxis replied, watching in fascination as the humans passed around triangular sections of what appeared to be circular food constructs. Perhaps it powers their remarkable disregard for personal safety. Hey, Prof, catch Sarah's voice rang out suddenly. Both alien instructors ducked as a small object sailed over their heads, only to be deftly caught by Miguel. Found your probability manipulator. It was jammed behind the temporal compensator. That's a Class 7 restricted piece of equipment, Valaxis stammered. How did you even recognize? Looks just like the thing that regulates the flux in my mom's old washing machine, Miguel shrugged, already installing it into a seemingly random array of parts that definitely hadn't been designed to work together. Little percussive maintenance, some creative rewiring, good as new. Percussive maintenance, Kathrix's spots had shifted to a concerned ochre. He means hit it till it works, Tyler translated, punctuating his words with a solid thwack to a stubborn panel. The lights in the corridor flickered to life. See? Works every time. By hour 3, the alien faculty had given up trying to enforce standard safety protocols and instead huddled together, watching in mixed horror and amazement as the human cadets systematically violated every repair procedure in the manual and somehow got results. The quantum manifolds are stabilizing, Kathrix muttered, checking his readings for the 5th time. But they're using a protein supplement beverage container as a coolant reservoir. That's not. They can't. Did they just bypass the secondary containment field with something called a rubber band, Valaxis asked weakly. Nah, that's holding the cup holder in place, Sarah corrected, sliding out from under a console. We used Jack's shoelaces for the containment field bypass, much more reliable. I believe I need to sit down, Kathrix announced to no one in particular. The final hour was a blur of activity as systems came online one by one, each success celebrated with high fives and victory dances that the alien faculty found deeply concerning. The humans had somehow turned the repair job into a competition, complete with a point system that seemed to award extra credit for solutions that made their instructors' appendages twitch. And that's the last one, Sarah announced triumphantly, emerging from the engine room with grease smudges on her face and a grin that could power a small sun. Main drive, auxiliary systems, life support, weapons all green across the board. Even got the coffee maker in the mess hall working. That ship didn't have a coffee maker, Valaxis pointed out. It does now, multiple human voices chorused. Professor K. Thrix consulted his chronometer, his spots cycling through disbelief to resignation. It's not even lunchtime. Told you so, Sarah smirked at Miguel, who was already pulling out his credit chip with a good-natured groan. I expect premium beans, not that synthesized stuff from the commissary. But how Valaxis finally managed to ask, his crystalline form catching the light in a way that suggested he was developing the alien equivalent of a stress headache. The quantum cascade alone should have. Oh, that Tyler waved dismissively. Turned out it wasn't a cascade failure at all. Someone just hadn't turned it off and on again properly. Classic it problem. As for the manifolds, Lisa added, we just reversed the polarity. That doesn't actually, K. Thrix began. Works every time the humans chorused again. I believe Valaxis announced carefully that we need to seriously revise our curriculum regarding impossible repairs. And perhaps, K. Thrix added, studying the roll of duct tape he'd been given with new respect, include some study of human engineering techniques. Great idea, Sarah beamed. We can start with the basics: duct tape, WD-40, and the sacred art of percussive maintenance. Oh, and coffee. Lots of coffee. Speaking of which, Miguel cut in, checking his watch. Anyone up for lunch? I hear the cafeteria serving something they claim is pizza. As the human cadets filed out, chattering about their next impossible repair project, the alien faculty remained behind, staring at the fully functional warship that, by all their years of training and experience, should have been destined for the scrapyard. Should we tell them that ship is worth more than this entire facility? K. Thrix asked quietly. Let's wait until after they fix the quantum accelerator in Lab 6, Valaxis replied. The one we declared permanently non-functional last cycle. Ah yes, K. Thrix's spots shifted to an amused pink. The one with the minor containment breach that created a temporary singularity. Exactly. I expect they'll have it running by dinner. In the distance, they could hear Jack's boom box starting up again, accompanied by the unmistakable sound of tools being gathered. Somewhere, a human voice called out, Hey, who's got the duct tape? I believe Valaxis said slowly that the galaxy is not ready for human engineers. On the contrary, K. Thrix replied, his spots now pulsing with something like anticipation. I believe the galaxy has been waiting for them all along. Though perhaps we should stock up on this coffee substance. For safety reasons, of course. Of course, Valaxis agreed. And maybe some more duct tape. In the cafeteria, Sarah was already sketching out plans for the quantum accelerator repair on a napkin, using her pizza crust as a straight edge. So if we just redirect the quantum flux through my old gamma station power supply, and maybe add some zip ties for extra safety, Miguel suggested around a mouthful of allegedly pizza. Now you're thinking like an engineer, Sarah grinned. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the laws of physics shuddered slightly and decided to take a long lunch break. They had a feeling they were going to need it. True to the alien professor's predictions, news of the human cadets' repairability spread through the galaxy faster than a quantum transmission. Within weeks, the Academy's engineering department had become something of a legend or a cautionary tale, depending on who you asked. You did what to the temporal stabilizer Admiral Zen Thar's holographic form flickered with what could only be described as bureaucratic panic. Fixed it, Sarah replied cheerfully, dunking a cookie into her coffee. The Admiral's eye stalks twitched as crumbs fell dangerously close to a 1,000,000 credit control panel. Turns out it works better if you install it backwards and run it through an old Earth Nintendo. What? Vintage gaming console, Tyler explained, not looking up from where he was casually rewiring what appeared to be a small sun in a box. Great processing power if you overclock it right. Plus, it's got this sweet startup sound. The Admiral's hologram flickered again, this time from genuine distress. But the technical specifications, the safety protocols. Oh, we laminated those and used them as coasters, Lisa chimed in, rolling past on what appeared to be a hover chair made from spare parts and optimism. Keeps the coffee rings off the antimatter containment units. The Academy's reputation had taken on a peculiar dual nature. On one hand, they were now receiving desperate requests from across the galaxy to fix unrepairable technology. On the other hand, traditional engineering facilities had started putting up no humans allowed signs next to their no food or drink warnings. I don't understand why they're so upset, Jack mused, using a makeshift screwdriver he'd fashioned from a spork and determination. We've only caused 3 minor dimensional rifts this month. That's way below average. 4, if you count that thing with Miguel's attempt at improving the cafeteria's food synthesizer, Sarah corrected. That wasn't a dimensional rift, Miguel protested. It was just aggressive recipe optimization. It made the meatloaf achieve sentience. Yeah, but it was the best-tasting sentient meatloaf in the quadrant. Professor K. Thrix, who had somehow become the unofficial human handler for the engineering department, had developed a new stress response that made his bioluminescent spot strobe like a disco ball. The other faculty had started taking bets on which shade would appear when he reviewed the cadets' latest improvements. They've modified the quantum accelerator, he reported to Valaxis one evening, his spots cycling through previously undiscovered colors. Successfully, Valaxis asked, already knowing the answer. They powered it with something called a potato battery, and now it's running at 300% efficiency. Also, it makes French fries. What are French? Don't ask. Just don't. The human's reputation for impossible repairs reached its peak when a Galactic Council warship suffered critical drive failure in the middle of a diplomatic crisis. The ship's engineering team had declared it a total loss, requiring at least 6 months in a specialized facility for repairs. Sarah took one look at the diagnostic readings and snorted. Classic cascade misalignment. Seen it a million times in my dad's garage. This is a Class 7 hyperspace dreadnought, the ship's chief engineer protested, all 6 of his arms gesturing in exasperation. Not a primitive ground transport. Same principle, Sarah shrugged, already gathering her team. Jack, bring your boom box. Lisa, grab the emergency duct tape stash. Tyler, we're going to need the good coffee for this one. 4 hours, 3 impossible workarounds, and several violations of the known laws of physics later, the dreadnought's engines hummed to life. The human cadets had somehow managed to route auxiliary power through a jury-rigged system that included, among other things, a modified toaster, 6 paper clips, and what appeared to be a hamster wheel. But where did you even get a hamster wheel in space? The chief engineer stammered. We've learned it's better not to ask these questions, Professor K. Thrix advised, his spots having given up and settled on a resigned beige. The ship's captain, a distinguished veteran of 3 interstellar wars, stared at the engine readings in disbelief. It's not just running, it's running better than when it was new. How? The hamster wheel adds a unique rotational harmony to the quantum field, Lisa explained seriously, while behind her Miguel desperately tried to keep a straight face. Also, we painted some flames on the side. Red ones go faster, everyone knows that. The incident reports filed that day would later become required reading at the Academy, partly as a teaching tool, and partly because no one actually believed them without documentation. Back at the Academy, the human engineering cadets had turned their attention to their next impossible project, optimizing the campus-wide artificial gravity system, armed with nothing but determination, questionable methods, and enough coffee to float a battleship. Should we stop them? Valaxis asked, watching as the cadets gleefully unpacked their tools. Could we? K. Thrix countered. They both knew the answer. The galaxy had unknowingly waited eons for engineers who didn't just think outside the box, they denied the box's existence entirely, then built something better out of spare parts and sheer audacity. At least they promised to maintain a minimum of 0.8 standard gravity this time. K. Thrix sighed, his spots shifting to what had become known as human engineering acceptance mode. Did they specify which direction? Before K. Thrix could answer, a cheer erupted from the human cadets, followed by the distinctive sound of duct tape being deployed with enthusiasm. Somewhere in the background, Jack's boombox started playing Danger Zone. The laws of physics, having never quite recovered from their earlier lunch break, took one look at what was about to happen and decided to call in sick for the day. Sometimes they had learned it was just easier that way. And so life continued at the Academy, where impossible repairs were just Tuesday's homework, where the line between genius and insanity was measured in strips of duct tape, and where humanity's unique approach to engineering was simultaneously inspiring new solutions and causing minor existential crises among traditional engineers across the galaxy. As Sarah often said, while applying percussive maintenance to yet another unrepairable system, the universe isn't broken, it just needs a good kick and some coffee. No one could quite argue with that logic, especially since somehow it kept working. Past the duct tape, she called out, grinning as she faced their latest impossible challenge. We've got a universe to fix.